Hello, hello, Benita Lee here. It's a virtual book club, your favorite one, obviously. Um, Virtual book club started in during the pandemic. I'm Benita Lee, and I'm joined by different guests all over the world, sometimes, to discuss books, connect with others, or share thoughts and tell stories. Join us. Don't forget to say hi or where you're tuning in from, where you live, represent your city or your country. Um, this is the book club that you can attend even if you don't read the book. I, however, have read the book and I am almost finished. So let's see if the other guests that are here today have read the book or finished or what are their first thoughts. This is going to be fun, guys. We've got 5 of us today. Um, Abel, um, if you've not read her articles or know what bookish notes are, you should contact her. Hal, as always, we missed you last 2 weeks ago.
Well, after what I have to say about this book, you uninvite me going forward. So
It would be the first time. It would be the first time we uninvite anyone. Marianne from Kuwait and
Hello.
Stephen on Long Island. Hello, everyone. Let's see who's in the audience. Leslie. Hi, Leslie. You're supposed to be here, but we don't blame you. James Patrick, thank you for showing up. Sia, I hope I hope you're okay. You're safe. There was a flood in Dallas where she lived. Oh man, you should have seen the pictures from what happened outside her front door. It was like she was living on a lake. And she doesn't live on a lake, guys. Okay. I don't know what happened to Stephen there. But as soon as he comes back on, I will add him.
Well, hello. Sorry about that. I lost you guys for a second.
No problem, Stephen. Okay, so we are reading the book Never Finished.
So and what does it say on the top of your book that it doesn't say on mine?
It says clean edition. It says
Clean edition. Okay.
Yeah.
If I'd only known.
I listened to the unabridged version. Do not get the clean version. Like the unabridged is where it's at, guys, because you won't be disappointed as profane as it is.
And not only that, Stephen, you have to get the unabridged audiobook.
Yes, that's what I did. I got a free copy on Audible because they offer me a free trial and they give you one free audiobook as a perk. So I'm like, oh my god, perfect.
Bring it on.
So Marianne, are you playing the audio version, the unabridged audio version in public with the sound as loud as you could get it?
Oh no, definitely not. Definitely
I didn't think that would go over very well where you are.
But can I tell you, in my shock, I don't know, I was talking about David Goggins, and my 14-year-old son in Kuwait goes, I know David Goggins. I was shocked. I didn't expect that here. He said he quotes him, actually.
I'm not going to ask what.
But it was a clean version. It's a
clean quotes. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. But I don't think they have a clean version of the audio.
Yes. So for those who are watching and haven't read the book, I wasn't anticipating it, but Mr. Goggins is quite liberal with his use of F-bombs throughout the book. And MF references that I won't explain, but it caught me off guard, and then you just sort of fall into the, okay, that's just the way he tells his story. But
It's colorful indeed.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, I have no idea because I can only imagine when I read through. But I think that with the profanity, I would just it might be too much for me because it was like reading, like having like a boot camp instructor yelling out the words to me. I don't know why, but they hit really hard. And maybe I'm enjoying this book more than others because this is what I really needed. I needed tough love. Apparently I was raised on tough love. So I'm getting it from this book, and it's familiar and effective for me. Louis agrees.
I think for anybody who, is not reading the book, or chooses not to, you just go out to Amazon and take a look at some of the 5-star reviews and look at some of the 1-star reviews. I mean, the book is very highly rated. He's very popular. He's in high demand as a speaker. I mean, he's made a niche for himself in a very, very successful way, and congratulations. But I think if you read some of the 5-star reviews, you'll read why a lot of people like it. And if you read some of the 1-star reviews, you'll read exactly why the people who don't. I don't have to put words to it. They do it, quite well, quite frankly.
So I presume were the 1-star ratings predominantly around the profanity, or was it a little bit more than that?
Yeah, I'll try to keep my opinions aside because mine start to interweave with, what I would try to say. And I'm just going to go from recollection, Marianne. But, I mean, they for some, he comes across as sort of just an egotistical jerk wrapped around his own self. The profanity is offensive. If you find that offensive, it is offensive. It is over the top and unnecessary in many instances, other than that's who he is. As much as there are many people that made him be successful in some of the more over the top things that he attempted to do and succeeded at from a physical endurance standpoint, it was about him. And anytime he brought up someone who was there to support him, it cycled back to him. So it was just very much about him, and so the support network that any of us need to be successful was sort of like just background noise. Now I'm only halfway through, but I would agree with some of that. Now I'm only halfway through, and so I can't speak to the second half of the book, but I would agree with a lot of that.
That's interesting. If you don't mind, I'd like to respond a bit to that. So he actually does cover how people, because he's so laser focused on maximum improvement and realizing his far-reaching goals, and he's a perfectionist, obviously. He comments on the fact that people see that and see him as being egotistical, or perhaps he feels people think he judges others by those same standards. And he specifically says, I don't do that. I don't judge other people. I just judge myself very harshly. And I could see how, when I could see that, generally speaking, if you tend to be very passionate about something, other people see that as what's the word, like maybe egocentric, or they find you too over the top, or it brings out other insecurities in other people. So I can appreciate that. He does talk a lot about like his wife and his trainers and his grandfather and how they contributed to him, very much so, and kind of like the tribe and the community that he developed. So I probably wouldn't agree so much with that, but no, it's very fascinating. I'm really enjoying this book. I have about
I was going to
15.
say, Benita, highlight James's, which you just did. Which I think the takeaway, the bottom line. I think James sums
Exactly.
it up really well there. That's the bottom line of the book.
It's about him and his mindset.
Regardless of the stuff that you do or don't like, the
Yeah.
core message is that is what it is.
It's about his mindset, isn't it?
It isn't about anybody else. It isn't about finding excuses for why you can't do something. It's all about you and what you put your mind to. And most of the obstacles in your life is the self-talk that keeps you from doing things that you can if you just believe in yourself and stop all that self-talk.
Absolutely. It's less about the external factors that are beyond our control, and just instead driving a wedge between those factors and yourself, and then problem solving from there, figuring out what your options are, what beliefs I can formulate, and then test each out through trial and error, and go from there.
I would also say that again, this is like the polar set of different of reactions to it. I did not grow up in an abusive family. I could talk about my family and all the dysfunction, but it certainly wasn't abusive. He talks about the abusive father to the point where I go, enough already. I get it. Move on. I'm feeling uncomfortable reading this.
Interesting.
I think that anybody who did grow up in an abusive family will have one of two reactions to it. They will have flashbacks, and they will be so unnerving and so unsettling to their own personal experiences that it'll be a difficult read for them, or they'll nod in agreement and great empathy in what he experienced and want to keep reading. So I think what I'm trying to say is that there are a number of things about this book that is going to result in either really liking it or really disliking it, and there's going to be not a whole lot in the middle. But at the end of the day, I think the core message is a fabulous one, and one that
absolutely.
we all need to reflect.
Oh yeah. It's growing up in an abusive household and having like a rather horrendous childhood by his standards is a rather polarizing topic. So even if that's not your intention, it's kind of hard not to find a middle ground where you can appease everyone. You're either going to feel very triggered by it if that was your reality growing up, or you step into his shoes and empathize as much as you could. Although at times, it did feel kind of, I was going to say earlier, like circular, because he just seemed he kept going on. He just kept going on and on about his father, and I was like, okay, I get the picture. What's your point? What's your angle this time?
But it was trauma. I mean, it was it shaped his life. It was trauma, and trauma should, you can expect that it would take a good piece of the storyline.
Sure, not to downplay it. I mean, don't get me wrong. His descriptions were vivid. They were beautiful, even when they were disastrous, like in detail. If that makes any sense.
It does. Yeah. I found it fascinating. Benita, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as
Mhm.
well, about the kind of like, he talks about his trauma, right? And the
Mhm.
reality of his trauma is very different than the reality of his sibling, who stayed very deeply
Right.
connected with his father and admired him and stayed in the same town, and how they related, how they related to each other, and how it formed their reality and their future. So I thought that was really fascinating.
Right. Um, I mean, that's the thing. Even if you're born into the same family, you can have a different experience.
And different reality, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I find that with my siblings.
And mine as well. Yeah. Our
Hmm.
realities are very different. Our
Very.
And I
memories
think
are
so,
very,
and
very
so
different.
and so the cynic in me, and I'm not saying this is true, it's just that I'm just can be a cynical guy sometimes.
It's good.
The cynic in me is that's his narrative about it's his narrative about his upbringing that supports his conclusions about life. Doesn't necessarily mean he's right. That's his
Right.
narrative about
This
it.
is his narrative, his perception.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
And so, does it make him right? I don't know, but it helps him tell his story because that's his worldview.
right. Well, I just want to read a tiny excerpt from page 54.
Oh, I want to see if there's any F bombs that you skip over then because
Oh,
you don't
okay.
have them in your book.
Yes,
Did a
please.
comparative.
Probably because he uses the word hell. So, nothing is permanent. Life is the ultimate competitor. It takes no days off and it won't care if you've made some money or got a promotion at work. All that means is that you're good to go for a moment or two. No matter how tough and successful you think you are, trust me, there is a semi coming around a blind curve ready to smack you in the mouth when you are comfortable as hell. Any F bombs?
Yeah.
Oh,
What
wow.
page is that? You said 54.
54.
It's not 54 in my book. I can't find that.
Oh, it must be because I have the clean edition, so all the pages.
Yeah,
All the
half
F's
the
were
words have been
removed.
taken out.
That explains a lot.
What chapter is that, Benita?
It's early on, and it is
Is it in Evolution 1, 2?
Merry Christmas.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, it's
You
called
have
something else.
Merry
Just
effing
so you
Merry
know, the title of
effing
that
Christmas.
chapter in my book is Merry
There's
Effing
an
Christmas.
effing.
Just
Yeah.
so that we're
I'm
clear on the
It's three.
differences.
I'm tempted to get the unabridged
It's worth it.
version in hardcover.
Audio.
This is
No,
soft.
an audio.
No, get
Audio.
it on audio if you
audio.
want the full experience, Benita.
It's the only way to do it. You know why? You know why you should get the audio? First of all, you get to hear his voice. Okay. So
Yeah,
how awesome
exactly.
is that?
You hear his voice and his podcaster's voice.
Yes. So that's
'Cause-
number one. Number two, sorry. Number two, Stephen, if you agree with me, is so you hear his voice as well as his podcasters.
Mhm.
And then he has inserts where he actually interviews him. So there's actually podcast sections where they
Exactly,
they dialogue about the previous chapter and where they get into some
Right.
deep dive. So you get that interview in as
Exactly,
well, and
exactly.
further elaboration.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's literally two different voiceovers. So you
Exactly.
feel it feels very intimate, as if you're sitting in the same studio room as them.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know
so
what?
it's-
I'm gonna get the audio version, and that's what I'll take to the gym.
Yeah.
That's actually where
Exactly.
That's where I listened to most of the book, Benito. What was working out and then messaging you on WhatsApp.
That's hilarious. I was on holiday and I was in the gym next to a U.S. Army guy who was on his because he was wearing his little U.S. Army. So we were
Oh
both in the
man.
gym and we were on the stationary bike, and so he was sitting on a stationary bike and I was standing the whole time listening to David Goggins, and he's like, "Are you a triathlete?" And I looked at him. I was like, "I'm just trying to lose weight." No. And I laughed. And he's like, he got up because I was up. He's like, "I'm getting up because of you." And I was like, "David Goggins, baby." You gotta read it.
Oh. Oh man, nothing like David Goggins. Nothing like David
In the
Goggins
gym.
to at the gym to light a fire under your beep.
Exactly.
Right. And that's what I need. That's what I need. If I can't, afford a trainer,
Yes.
I'll just,
Yes.
I'll just
Yes.
listen to David Goggins in the gym. It's so true. I
And
started
I loved
following his Instagram account.
Me too. Me too. I had
I
to
didn't-
look
I
up
didn't
his wife too, Trish. I was like,
Oh, Trish.
I need to put
Isn't
a
it-
face with a name.
Isn't it Tish or
Kish.
Kish?
Oh, Kish, pardon. But you know what? Stefan, what seems we're missing is there seems to be reference to a lot of pictures in the book that
Oh,
they
right.
keep going on and on about, and how like it tells its own story. So I was like, I wish I had that.
There
Yeah.
are pictures in the book, and without exclusion, although he's not the person,
And they're pretty raw. I think.
he's well, I don't think so. But he's
Oh, okay.
he's not the sole person in every picture, but
Okay.
every picture is of him.
Mm-hmm.
In support of a prior
Yeah.
comment about ego. So everybody else is like a bit player in his life.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the acknowledgments at the end, and to his credit, he named his wife Jennifer Kish, which he refers to as Kish.
Yeah, for sure.
He refers to her, first. Kudos, because he's probably the most influential person in him being able to be who he is.
Mhm.
And he
Right.
basically just kind of whitewashes the kudos to her. To me, it's just a little short paragraph. I won't read it, but to me, you are who you are because of your support system. Without your support system, you couldn't do what he does and what he
Maybe
did.
that'll be his next book.
And so that's why I do default to the fact that I'm not saying it's wrong, but he's got it. To me, my reaction is he's got an outsized ego. He would be someone I'd like to have a beer with, but it's not someone I'd like to be a friend with.
I'd like him to be my trainer.
Yeah, no kidding.
He'd
Yeah.
kick your ever loving.
Even having him as a trainer might be a little suspect because, well, I don't know if any of you, I know you read cover to cover, Hal. I don't know if the rest of you have read all the way through, but towards the later chapters where he goes into further detail about his runs, I believe in Oregon, he and his buddy were trash talking like crazy just to get themselves fired up, in spite of the fact that he was about 9 months like post surgery, and he knew that
Yeah, he's
he
insane.
he was physically broken. So to have someone like medically defiant, like push you to the severity
Yeah.
that he pushed himself and his buddies,
It's
I
extreme.
think it's like I don't know if that would go that far in terms of an external motivational system. I don't know about you guys.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, to me, he is someone that in hindsight we can say was successful, but
For
there were
sure.
points of time in what I've read so far, in terms of pushing beyond limits, doing things that you shouldn't do medically because it was irresponsible.
brazen.
That turned
Absolutely.
out fine and made him, mentally strong, but could have had very different consequences that people would just look at him and go, "What an idiot."
Yeah, I think he referred to
It,
his knees.
it's a great story because it
Yeah,
turned out fine. It could have turned out in many
that's
cases
right.
very, very
Yeah.
different. He could still be wandering around lost on his 240-mile, race.
Not only that, but including amputation. I think he was really at risk.
Yes.
I
he
think
was
they
doing
refer to his
stuff
knee.
after a heart, issue that he was in the hospital
Yeah,
for. I mean, come
yeah,
on.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
And if any of these people, if he were our friend, we'd go, "Stop it, you idiot! You need to take care of yourself."
That's
I would,
right.
I would be like, bro, take it easy, rest up.
Yeah, fight another day, man.
And James hit the nail like once again.
Yeah, type A personalities love that hammer mentality. Just everything's a nail. And he even admits it, like
He knows.
when he saw the specialist doctor in I can't remember where it was. I think it was in the northeastern states. And he said, but I was David Goggins, and I had a new unreasonable goal.
Yeah, he knows. He knows.
Yeah, because he knows. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Because he knows that he doesn't enjoy straight lines to success. If there's no nail in the road, he will purposely go out and try to find like a nail or a bump in the road to create an obstacle, because he wants to be pushed in that manner.
It's worth mentioning that he was a 300-pounder, body person who was not successful, was not, I mean, what was he doing? Like, he was a medic, or I'm not sure what he was doing, but he didn't come into that mindset till much later. And he had, I guess, an awakening, or what was it that kind of made him realize he can
just didn't want to be fat anymore. He decided.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah.
He decided he wasn't going to be fat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who decides that? David Goggins does.
Oh.
It's not something that you would just get up the next day and it dawns on you.
Right.
What,
well, it's possible.
Yeah. He's 48.
He showed the picture.
He's 48 now. What he's put his body through, I would not want to meet him when he's 70.
So he references in the book that his knees were aged him at age 90. His knees were the age of a 90-year-old.
I think that's the comparison that his doctor made. Sorry, not to.
No, I was just gonna say.
Yes.
I mean, I used to run marathons. I was running 50, 60 miles a week, and I know if I'd have kept that up, the wear and tear eventually comes back to you. The human body is not designed for that type of effort. It's designed to be able to push yourself to the limits if you're going to live to what we all live to, when everybody, 40 was if you were lucky if you lived past 40, but, now, I would hate to see what he's going to be like when he's 70 or 80. And will he live regrets? Will he have regrets, or will he have, no, I did what I wanted to do at the time, and I'm paying the consequences now, and I'm fine with that.
And what was notable about him was his health was really not good. He had a hole in his heart. He had sickle cell anemia. He had, the wear and tear on his knees, he really suffered a lot, and he kept saying that I was constantly disadvantaged.
And in pain.
He talked about this, I'd never heard of it before, but he talked about Raynaud's disease as well.
Yes,
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Cause
I hadn't heard of
significant
that either.
circulation issues.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Having to do with like
Thyroid. He also had thyroid. He had a
right.
lot of health issues.
What?
Yeah. But you know, did you ever catch, like, at least twice I read, he said, maybe those people that are saying that you need to find a purpose are wrong? Did you ever catch that?
Yeah. I'm trying to
And then
remember though.
I kind
I
of,
think I
I
wrote
kind
that
of,
down.
I kind of cheered because, like, here we are all searching for a purpose, and maybe everyone's purpose really should just be, the best human being that they can be. And I don't know, he said it better, but I can't find it right now. You must take advantage of any opportunity to strengthen your resolve, because when life hits you in the mouth, you will need that resolve. Of course, knowing that doesn't make it easy to re engage when everything else goes sideways. Actually, getting out there and running the last 135 miles demanded a level of focus and commitment that is hard to find when you've been down and out for a day. Fortunately, I'd been in similar situations, so I knew what to do. For starters, I had to stay locked in mentally. A lot of people fall down when they get smacked, and when they hit the ground, they lose all momentum, not just physically, but mentally, because they're humiliated. And when you're humiliated, it's impossible to make any sort of progress. And I just, like, I couldn't relate to marathons or any of the things that he did, but that's really my same mindset when it comes to golf. Like, why do I golf? It is freaking humiliating and really embarrassing, and it's like, what are you doing? But it's that ability to get like a bad shot, keep your cool, and then look at the
Mm.
next hole as though it's a new one. Like, that's what impresses me about
Yeah,
myself when I golf.
yeah. And golf teaches you just that. I'm a lefty, by the way, Benita. Just an FYI. Because you're inevitably going to mess up at some point. Like you shank some shots, but just as you would at the range, you just keep swinging.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
I'm still challenged, and I still challenge the view that he's very self-absorbed, egocentric. I don't agree with that. And perhaps maybe everyone gets through the book, I think we should circle back to this if you still have that view.
okay.
Because I'm just looking at
Sure.
my notes, and actually I admire him because he talks about trained humility.
Right.
Uh,
He does.
and he talks about, you don't know everything, and that allows you to be open to learn. And that's the whole premise of the book, is that you're never finished. There's always a learning. And there's one part where he talks about where he's in a race, in this 240-mile race, and he allows someone else to kind of lead the pack, and they end up off course, I don't know, for 15 miles or whatever. And he said, I didn't even bother being upset with him. I took responsibility for not being responsible. Whereas
Right.
other people would have been absolutely annoyed with that person and probably
They,
shouted him out. Or he says there was no room for me to spend any effort making him feel bad or putting the ownership on him, responsibility on him. I had to take complete responsibility for that. And he moved from immediately 15 miles off course, being that far out in the altitude, all of these problems, to now what do we need to do? So for me, I find him, his humility and laser focused responsibility is so admirable.
Mm-hmm.
I
I can
just read that
relate.
section this
right.
morning, so it's that part
Okay.
is fresh.
Oh,
You did relate that very
Oh.
well, Marianne.
oh, for once, Hal, I'm way ahead of you.
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit, I've got 3 other books going at once.
He has
And
other books
when I
going.
reach for
Yeah.
one, this one is not necessarily top of mind.
But
So
top of your book,
I'm
you're talking
slogging
about
my
this.
way through.
Well,
Oh,
we
okay.
won't blame you if you don't read the whole thing.
We got 2 weeks before the next call. I'll be done. I'm done with the first half in less than 2 weeks. But I'll also be done with about another 3 other books too. So
Yeah, I
And
mean, we're gonna need a new book, everyone. So keep your eyes out, and like if there's one that you've suggested before but we never read it, like suggest it again.
and I will go on record that, as much as, I'm not as, clearly I'm not as much of a fan of this book as others are. I did recommend it. It was one of the ones that caught my attention, highly rated. Lots of people are talking about it. Put it on my list of something I might want to read in the future. And I shared a short list of ones with Benita and some of you, and there was some dialogue around, yeah, that one. So here we are.
Well, I appreciate that you did that.
And
I think this is one of those books, Hal, that you will never forget. It is that impactful.
I will, yes. As you were talking earlier, one of the things that has definitely stuck with me is more, I've always believed this, but when you choose to not do something, or the voices in your head start talking to you about not doing something, are you coming up with excuses or are they real reasons?
Very impactful.
And we're very
Very
good
yeah.
at coming up with excuses because something makes us uncomfortable. We don't think we'll be successful. I don't want to look foolish. I've never done it before.
That's right.
And one of his core messages is just stop all that and do it anyway.
That's right. That's right. So impactful.
oh yeah, and it all comes to a head in the later chapters when he goes into further detail about his training with the Navy SEALs, especially when he's up in up flying in an airplane above the mountains of British Columbia.
Right. Yeah. And
Yeah, because you
by that
have no
you meant
time to
Canada.
be scared. Exactly, your neck of the woods, Benita,
Yeah,
and
and when
his
they showed the temperature, it was in Celsius.
yeah, and I can read Fahrenheit and Celsius, so I knew how cold that was. My goodness, and at 47 at 47 years old, like having no time in those split seconds to be to feel scared. Um, that's quite a way to like hammer home the point of if you're scared, do it anyway. I don't know what you guys think. For those of
Right.
you
Well,
who
Well,
read
I mean,
it,
I'll
well,
go back to it pales in comparison to things he did, but I'll go back to, many, many years ago when I ran my very first marathon. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, so I was just stupid and naive. And I did enough training, probably not enough. So I towed the line and got off and started out too fast, and somewhere, after mile 13 and well before mile 20, I was telling myself, this hurts too much. I need to quit. This hurts too much. I need to quit. And then I also had that voice that was saying, there are people who are waiting for me to cross that finish line and I don't want to let them down. So
Right.
I'm going to finish. But I remember all of that self-talk occupying far too many miles.
yeah,
Right.
And
Oh,
yeah,
reading this brings a lot of that back.
I
it's
bet.
relatable. It's relatable, even if you're not a runner, in any aspect of your life, that negative self-talk, a lot of that energy
Mhm.
is just absolutely wasted energy.
Quick shout out to Chris Postel, who's running the Sinister 7 today. he recently got bronchitis, so I don't know how well he's going to fare, but we are wishing you a safe and successful run, Chris.
Oh, okay. Go, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go, Chris.
Yeah. I have some other excerpts that are earmarked. The last one wasn't so good, but okay. Here's one. I don't know how many times I visualized receiving that embossed golden ticket to dinner I dreamed of, where steak and lobster tail would be served by those who admired and wanted to be near us. But I expected to have to prove something first. I figured if I inserted myself into the proper organization or structure and met the standard consistently, someone would notice me, a mentor, a guide, and give me directions to where all the power players gathered. I was not looking to be the head of their table. I wasn't delusional. I just wanted a seat. So he talks about wanting a seat at the table. And like, who of us haven't wanted to have a seat at the table in our industry or whatever sport that we competed in? And I liked the way that he talked about being Black, but not such that it was like, not in like other books that I've read or other movies that I've seen. It wasn't like the main focus, but it was a consideration that because he's a Black man, it was, his achievements are that much more spectacular. Nobody has anything to say.
He talked about some derogatory words that he's received because of the color of his skin, and he talks about how people would come at him, and he's a bit of a mental case because he's like, bring it on, like, you empower me, you fuel me. You thought that you're gonna hold me back? Oh no!
Hit me again, please.
He goes to the point where he will record it and he will listen to it over and over and over again.
Yes.
And it just gives him more power. And he was like, I'll just listen to it. I'll record every little, and I'll let them know. Anyone who comes after me, just thank you.
Yeah, he's like,
haters. Mean machine.
Yeah, you know, like how Taylor Swift is like, just shake it off. No, David Goggins is like, give me more. Give me more. And like, your hate fuels me.
That's right. It's insane.
Yes.
Who does that?
Yeah,
he records.
literally records it as if it were a soundtrack. And as I was listening to you guys mention that, I was thinking about back to his discussions of how people use the N-word against him, because he does it like the way that he parses it, like, makes it seem as if like we know he is offended, but he seems to be channeling it for this greater ulterior purpose, to fuel his like bravado, if you will. Come on, keep at it. I'm not afraid of you.
Yeah. And then there was one part which I thought was really entertaining. He said he has a friend who keeps coming over and kind of dumping on him, like, oh, my life this, oh, my life that, if you remember this, Stephen. And he's like, man, you're sucking the life out of me. So he plops the recorder down and he's like, just go. And he's like, now I want you to go home and listen to yourself. But it was very impactful because then he realized, oh my God, I'm really whining. So
vaguely, but it's coming back now, Mary.
Oh my gosh. No, like I don't know what it is about this book, but so far this year, Hal, it's the best book I've read. But
I agree with you.
I have the clean edition, so maybe that's the difference.
No, I feel like I know where this is going.
Right.
I know where. I don't know the details he's going to bring out, but I feel like, okay, I got it. I don't need to hear more stuff that you endured to make the same point differently.
Right.
I got it. I got the point of the abusive father and the abusive family and the horrible upbringing. I don't need to read anymore. Got it. I understand how it affected you. Can I move on now? Okay. I got the fact that your 240-mile, race, was, beyond the pale difficult. I don't need to live in your head and your body as we got through it. I got it. I got it. Move
So
on.
it's safe to say you did not connect with this book.
Not yet. No, I mean,
Not
but
yet.
let me try to say this. I don't dislike the book. The core message is phenomenal.
Okay.
And I would not dissuade anyone from reading it. If Avril were talking to me right now, she'd say, Hal, it's fine. Scan through it and get the key points and move on. And so I've got David Goggins in one ear and I've got Avril Beckford in the other one, and then my guilt of, I would scan through this if it wasn't for the book club, but I want to read every word because I want to be.
That's right. The auditor in you. The auditor in you.
No.
Don't let us down, Hal.
So I got my own voices occupying my brain.
Well, I haven't read the book and I don't feel sad about it. I'm actually reading a love story. That's what my mind is, and that's what I'm doing.
Is it fiction or non?
Oh, it's fiction.
I'm gonna need some fiction recommendations pretty soon here because I think I'm doing that thing again where I become very one-dimensional.
We can talk, yeah.
Yeah. I'd love that, Avril.
Benita. There's one thing that stood out for me and wanted everyone's thoughts on that, which was praise can tame the savage.
Praise
can tame the savage. So when people compliment you or acknowledge you, he refers to himself like, you got to keep the savage in you going, right?
Right.
Because you're trying to run this 250-mile race or whatever it is. So when people praise you, you become comfortable. You become satisfied. You become complacent.
Basically, you lose your edge.
Right.
You lose your edge.
Not necessarily, though. Like, some people have a hard time accepting praise. So I don't think it would affect them in that way.
And other people use praise to fuel them, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then perhaps others use it as I'm okay now.
Yeah, no, I think he would say, look, you only need to validate yourself. Don't depend on external validation.
Or internal, actually, too, right? Because you're constantly, don't be satisfied with status quo. Keep pushing.
Right.
One of the things that has been running through my mind about him now, I'm trying to, as I'm going through the book, I'm trying to put myself in his shoes as well. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but he impresses me as someone that will excel at anything that requires individual effort and would be miserable at anything that requires team effort.
Well, I guess his runs are team efforts, like his crew.
To me, it's one where if he had, like, he would fail in a corporation that was very team based and collaborative based, because
That's a good
he would be so
challenge.
hard on himself that
Mhm.
he would want to continue to work harder, be better than everybody else, at whatever it was. Not because he wanted to be better than everybody else, because he pushed himself to it, which would create team conflict and animosity and jealousy. And I don't
Yeah.
think there are very many cultures where his mindset would be successful, and why he washed out of a lot of jobs. He was never passionate about a lot of the jobs he was doing. It has to be so he can be a phenomenal author. He can be a phenomenal motivational speaker. He can be a whatever requires individual effort.
Yeah.
To be a successful Navy SEAL, yes, you have to value your team, but at the end of the day, it's about you,
Right.
your mental toughness.
Yeah.
I think we should recommend the book Plays Well with Others to David Goggins.
And so I don't think he might have started there, but that's where he got his self-worth, his individual accomplishment, not
Right.
and his goal was not to be better than everybody else.
But
If he wasn't better than everybody else, he would kick himself. He would be down on himself because he didn't give it his all.
I have a question. Is this book a sequel to the first one?
No, it's not a sequel as far as I know. It is like the first one is about how all of us have it within us to give more. And then,
excuse me.
Bless you. This one is about winning the war within. So the first one was a memoir, and this one is, I don't know, this one is not defined as a memoir, is it?
I have a quote here in my notes. Going back to some meditate, some open the window. Instead, I listen to the haters. I take what they tell me and work out harder.
I mean, we could all use that advice. We all, there's haters online. It's like,
who proactively seeks out the haters? That's like mental. But it worked for him.
It's so true.
But it's a spin, huh? It's a spin on how to deal with haters.
Yeah, I heard some things from him that I'd never heard before.
That's right.
But okay, did you connect? Did you feel, have you had you ever, while you were reading the book, were you like, oh, I felt this way before? I felt this way before. Like he handles his emotions differently.
That's a good question.
Am I just stating the obvious, or?
No, he's definitely a different breed.
No, it's the reason why I'm having trouble answering this question is because he is vastly different than the majority of us. Mm-hmm. The only time that this is just me. Tell me if I'm insane, guys. The only time when I felt that I could remotely relate to him was at this passage towards the end where he talks about greatness. He could probably say it better than I can, but the gist was that greatness is not tied to a particular outcome, but it's rooted in the valiance of the attempt itself.
Mm. I like that. He's
I
It's
agree.
rooted
Yeah.
in what? I didn't catch that.
it's rooted in the valiance itself.
Mm.
I think Stephen might have locked up there.
Yeah, Stephen might have locked up. He's
Um,
frozen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different way to frame success. Success is not necessarily being successful. Success is giving it your best effort
Mhm.
Right.
to
Mhm.
achieve the end result, whether you achieved it or not. It's reframing what success is. What keeps people from doing things is the belief that I'm not going to be able to do it. As opposed to people who you react to some people that you run across or people in your life, and you look at them and you say, well, they're adventurous. I would never have done that, and you're surprised by what they've done. A single woman going to a foreign country, and my reaction to that would be, what were you thinking? Well, I just want, I thought it would be an adventure. The reaction that somebody might have to whatever the circumstance is where you go, I can't imagine me doing that. And their response is, I viewed it as an adventure. And it's the difference of what you consider success to some degree.
Right.
To me,
Right.
I wouldn't do it because it doesn't fit. I don't think it would be something I would enjoy. The other person reacts to it and says it isn't about the end result. It's about the journey.
Right. The journey and all the efforts that you put forth to set yourself up for the best possible outcomes.
Yeah, it's the conversation you have with people who somebody will say, well, I'm not going to do that. I'll just look foolish. And you go, do it anyway. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
We have 3 minutes left. I feel like we didn't save anything for the next session. How should we
We need to have a next session to find out what Hal thinks of the last
invite
50%.
him, because
Oh,
I'd love
right.
to chat with him.
Yeah.
We could. I looked him up on
That's one way to look at
LinkedIn.
it.
He's there.
Yeah, dude,
him with a
what's up
picture?
with you, man?
Yeah, come on, Goggins.
We should have somebody dress up as him and we just pretend. They put on their David Goggins persona and answer us as though he was him. It's like our interpretation, of course.
I'd love to talk with his wife. What's he really
So
like?
I think
Right.
I think they're separated, by the way.
Oh,
I wonder why. Okay.
I only say that because the curious auditor that I am, I was like, oh, I just got to put a face with a name. I wanted to know more about her background. And then there was a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Are they divorced? Are they separated? And I'm like, oh.
interesting. Because
But he valued her. He really recognized her.
I mean, that would be a very recent separation because like this book ends in 2022 or whatever, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I came to a complete conclusion because it wasn't.
He was married
very
in
clear.
2005 to
There it
some
goes.
woman named Eliza, but they separated.
That's right.
And
Right.
it appears that it is that Jennifer Kish is a fiance. They may not actually be married.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, because he repeated to her as it doesn't really like whether they're married or not.
Oh, right, he did.
Yeah, but that's my, and I know we're up on time. That's my example though of she's probably more important to him than he portrays throughout the book. It's almost like she's a bit player in his story, and clearly she has been, this Jennifer Kish has been, someone who has been, incredibly supportive. I mean, if the dude is running 100 miles a week, he ain't ever home.
Right. I wondered
Never.
that
And
because he only mentioned the kids. Didn't he mention the kids once? He had to walk past his kids and then collapse in the bathroom or whatever.
Right. So I that is one thing that has been running through my mind. Again, I'm only halfway through. Is one where I think about my support system and how I have been able to have where I have been successful in life to some modest degree. And those people played much more important roles than his support system comes out in the book.
Let's talk about that next book club. I really like that topic actually because
me too.
Yeah.
There's because I feel like that could be like an entire story in and of itself. And because I got the sense that there was a lot more that he could have been telling us about her that he decided to leave out.
Right. Okay. Let's do that then. We are
just real quick, I'm eating my words because there's an article posted June 26, 2023. David Goggins' fiance reveals what it's like to live with him.
Oh,
man. Send that to us.
Yeah, I think I'm going to want to read that before our next discussion. Okay, that's what our next discussion is going to be. We will see you in 2 weeks. There you have it from Hal Garin, Marianne, Aval, Stephen. Follow them all. Connect with them if you haven't. And drop your recommendations. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
All right. Thanks, everyone. This has been great.
Yep.
Thanks. Bye.
Good conversation.
Nice to have you. Bye.